Welcome back. As I said, as we broaden the circle of care this morning, as World Hepatitis Day passes, our focus now shifts to a devastating consequence, liver cancer, especially hepatocellular carcinoma. And I probably said that completely wrong, but luckily we've got the experts to be able to address it. Now, across Africa, HCC is a top cancer killer, accounting for more than 8 per 100,000 men and 4 per 100,000 women. And you add that up, it is devastating, with survival often under 6 months from diagnosis. Now, in South Africa, many present with large tumours and survive only weeks, particularly in rural areas that are underserved. Men are diagnosed up to 6 times more often than women, which is alarming in and of itself, frequently in their 40s or 50s, roughly 20 years younger than patients in Europe or North America. I feel like we need 5 minutes of silence just to process that. Well, today we are joined by Heidi van der Merwe, Professor Edward Jonas and Dr. Sanju Sobnak to explore the causes, the treatments and the critical role of advocacy in changing this reality. I gave us about 20 jumping off points there, so I'm so sorry, but what a wonderful way to address this from a very, very close connection. So Heidi, I'm going to start with you. And thank you for being open and vulnerable in this space to share your story. Am I right? You have been living beyond cancer for 23 years.
That's true.
I'm sure that day, and I don't know what you would call it in your own journey, that diagnosis day, that D-Day, that day where I would imagine things shifted dramatically. Can you remember what that experience was like? Do you often go back to that?
Yes, I actually do. I said to Dr. Sobnak the other day, it was a death sentence.
Wow.
That's it. And at that stage, what made it worse for me was my boy was 3 days old when they said that to me. And I was just thinking, I won't see him walking, nothing. At that stage, 6 months was a death sentence. And I remember getting people trying to say to me, oh, you'll be fine. And no, this is just bad for me. And yes, so the first month or two was very bad. I'm dying according to me. And then I had an op in Cape Town. And at that stage, we were also moving to the Free State. Everything was just weird.
Life was happening on a
life was happening
level. Yeah.
Beside me, but I was dying. And then I had the op, and it was very successful because it was early diagnosis. The only symptom I had was the itchy skin. And here I am today, thanks to early diagnosis, and that's why it's so important.
And why you are here,
yeah,
and why this needs to be spread. Prof, maybe I can ask an oversimplified question. Why? Why is it a case of we're just not getting the diagnosis because people are living in rural areas that are underserved? Is it as simple as that? Why, in particularly the case of women, is that section so underserved? And how do we address that, do you think? What is the starting point?
Yeah, so we face some very unique problems in sub-Saharan Africa. So if you look worldwide, it's the 6th most common cancer form, but it accounts for the 4th most common cause of a cancer-related death. So it's aggressive cancer. If you come to sub-Saharan Africa, and we partly sub-Saharan African, it's the 4th most in females and the 3rd most common cancer in males, and accounts for, in males, the most common cause of a cancer-related death, and in female, 2nd. So it's a very aggressive tumor. There are some differences seems to be in what causes it. If you go to high-income countries, it's usually related to cirrhosis caused by alcohol overconsumption or the metabolic syndrome, where in Africa it's really driven by hepatitis B. More than 50% of patients.
This is like a socio-economic study as much as a medical study. That is crazy.
And then the other problem is that the patients usually present very late. More than 90% will present beyond cure. And even if care is available, it's very limited in many countries. And you just can't get the treatment that you need.
So then research, do we need to figure out different ways of being able to diagnose earlier? If something is already hitting this hard, it's got the socio-economic backing to make it that much more difficult. Is that the key? Where do you see, as someone who lives on that battle line every day?
So Graham, thanks for having us on the show.
Absolute
This is
pleasure.
really wonderful. I mean, an important topic, a real killer amongst young people. I think for us, we are both university surgeons. One of our jobs is to take on difficult cases, but then the other part of the job is to ask why in every patient we see, in every disease we see, right? And the way we do this is we spend time in the clinic. So we look at patients and we see how they behave. Why do some patients survive 5 years? Why 15? And why do we have long-term survivors more than 20 years? There must be a secret to this.
There has to be, yeah.
We also have a basic sciences lab. The fancy word is what you see in movies, people with white coats and fancy machines. And what we do really then is dissect these tumors under the microscope. We want to see what these tumors are made of. We want to see how each individual cell behaves under the microscope and behaves with various treatments. We also have something we call translational. What that means is we take whatever's in the lab and we translate it into the clinic. For example, if I had to look at Heidi's case, I would go back to Heidi's tumor sample 23 years ago. I would look at it under a special microscope and I'd say, Heidi, this is why you have survived so long and you're such a champion. And the question we ask ourselves every day is, how do we replicate this in the other patients? Do we make a vaccine for them so they can stimulate the same cells that Heidi has to eat up the cancer? Okay. Do we look at Heidi's receptors and say, look, this is an easy receptor to target. Actually, what we should be giving Heidi is a breast cancer drug rather than a liver cancer drug. So it's really dissecting the finer detail.
And that's a wonderful
tumors.
thing to be at the point of that level of nuance in something that feels like, I would imagine, it's such a gateway of yes or no, live or die. People need to understand that there are options, that we are actually at that point where we are discovering new options with every case, which is a beautiful thing. I think there is an underlying energy within a conversation like this that always hits home. And I use the word purpose, seems to emerge, and that seems to often be the deciding factor. You've lent into your purpose to help as many people as possible, and it seems to be making waves now. And I think it's a great way to kind of spread the understanding of. But talk me through, if you can, Heidi, her One Life, One Liver motorcycle expedition. Why was it so important for you to turn something that must have felt like a subjection into something really proactive?
Yeah, so I had, after my son, I had 2 daughters as well, twin, and they were last year in matric. And I've always think I must use this second chance on life. And then last year I was actually sitting and Sanju also phoned me and we were talking about my second chance that I had. And I said to him, you know what, I think I want to ride my motorcycle and I want to explore the world. And he said, well, let's combine it and do advocacy in Africa for
Brilliant.
liver cancer. And that's how it started. And I'm taking off the end of August, solo on my motorcycle, and my dog Harley is also going with me. And we are going to do as much as we can for awareness, number one.
Brilliant.
And number 2 is also for people that was diagnosed to take their medication. That's another problem. People doesn't always keep taking the medication for hepatitis as they should. So that can also make a huge difference, I think. And yes, just let the people know the symptoms and make them aware and try and get funding for Sanju and the team to do more research and to just have the funds, because funding for research is a big problem.
There's not a lot to go around and a lot is needed.
It's a lot needed, yeah.
Oh, well, bless you for doing this. Thank you so much for maintaining, keeping that energy in the space as well. I think what seemed on the surface to be a very hopeless kind of space and a helpless kind of space is revealing a lot more happening than I think we are willing to back. And I think that's the bottom line here. You've got to be proactive in these spaces, whether you're coming from within the medical fraternity or without. There is knowledge and information that needs to be spread. Vital that we make sure people understand that early detection is key in this space and that there are treatment options available. And it's wonderful to know that there is, as I said, a circle of care that is expanding around the space. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really, really do.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.